Hello again. Many years ago, when I was living abroad, I used to tune in to the BBC World Service. The announcer in those days spoke beautiful English, and some people learned how to speak English by listening to the BBC. These days, of course, all that is seen as being horribly elitist. People speaking standard English with a clear accent? Much better if they can drop their H's and use glottal stops, or, even more desirable, speak with a foreign accent. Even that is still a little snobbish, though, if they use correct grammar and syntax. Best of all would be if the BBC could simply use Pidgin English, or broken English, as some people call it. What? You think I'm joking? Or perhaps being deliberately offensive? It's a bit much, surely, to suggest that those working for the BBC these days speak Pidgin English. What viewers may not realise is that the BBC not only has an entire channel devoted to Pidgin English, they also maintain a Twitter account in Pidgin and an Instagram account too. In the description to this video, I give links to the BBC's Pidgin English sites, including the news in Pidgin English and the Twitter feed. The Twitter feed is fascinating for several reasons. Let's have a look at it. I quote, "Now her papa dey proud of her, but before then the man been fear say she go carry Bell come house, cause she decide to be mechanic. Bell no be a normal roadside mechanic, she be graduate of the mechanical engineering." Now, this sounds very much like the bulletins of Idi Amin, which the late Alan Coren used to write for Punch in the 1970s. Some viewers may remember them with pleasure. We can just about make sense of it, but it almost sounds like somebody trying to mock the way that illiterate Africans speak. However, there is little I can do about that. Here is a fascinating story about the church in Kenya whose members starved themselves to death in a religious frenzy. I give a link to this also in the description to this video. Kenya President William Ruto done call for the arrest and prosecution of the controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie, where allegedly tell him followers to fast and die of starvation. The president done described the preacher as a terrorist. In reaction, they come after police recover more dead body from one mass grave near the coastal town of Melinda. This brings the total number of deaths to 48. Police don't tell Tory people, say them they still discover more shallow grave. Dead picking them they among the people where they dig out, and police say them been expect to find even more dead body. What is particularly intriguing here is the use of that word picking in the sentence, dead picking them they among the people. Picking is a pidgin word for children, and it is cognate with both the Jamaican picnic and also the English pickaninny. Ultimately, it derives from the Spanish word meaning small. Remember the fuss when Boris Johnson used that word pickaninny in an article which he wrote, and was promptly denounced for all time as being a hideous racist. Of that matter, how it's used marked Enoch Powell out as being a racist. Yet here it is on the BBC website. I might mention in passing that it's quite commonly used among Caribbeans in this country who routinely refer to children as depicting them in dialect, that is. I thought that it might interest viewers who pay for a television licence to know what the BBC are spending their money on these days.